Let's start introducing myself and my team for anyone who's new here. I'm Dave Flashner, running loans and the branch manager in the Georgia office of Stockton Mortgage. We do this platform once a month, whether it's a high-level realtor that we can pick their brain and find out what makes them successful, or a specific topic that we come up with to teach realtors, buyers, loan officers, whatever it is, how to put themselves in a better position to buy a house, or just educate on the market, the platform, and the whole nine. So if you ever have a topic or want to chat about something, reach out to myself and we'll put something together. So let me start introducing my team. On this call, we have Suzette White and Beth Martell. That's my right hand, left hand. If you've ever done business with me, you know who Beth and Suzette is. I used to have hair. I pulled it out. Then Suzette and Beth came along and my hair can't grow back. But without them, I'd probably even have less hair. And then we have Amber Jervis, who's on the call. Without Amber, these webinars could not be possible. She is what we call our marketing director. If you're an agent on this call and you are in need of any type of marketing, please reach out to me and we will figure out how to help you. If you want to co-brand some stuff, we would be happy to do. Let me introduce you to our guest speaker today, Allison Glennie out of Keller Williams. I'm super excited for this because I know Allie a very long time. I've watched her grow as she watched me grow. I feel like we grew together. And the moment we started doing business together, I feel like our businesses have doubled and tripled. And she's not just a realtor, she's actually a good friend of mine. So I'm very excited. Let me tell you a little about Allison. She lives out of Peachtree City and she drives a golf cart because that's what everyone does in Peachtree City. It's such a cool little town. She's got 4 kids, 2 of her own, 2 step kids. She's got 3 dogs. One is a giant horse, but it's a dog. And she's married to also a good buddy of mine. His name is Brian, who is a high-end chief of the fire department in the Peachtree City area. I don't know how Allison does it. A mom of 4, a husband that works shift work. She is a high-producing realtor and a boss, and she's hashtag boss ladies. If anyone thinks they can't put together business life and personal life, you're wrong, because there is possible balance out there, and Allison knows how to do it. On this call, Allison has Gia, who is her marketing director. Hi, Gia. So,
hi, guys.
Thanks for having us, Allie.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's so great hearing someone else talk about you, I guess. Like I feel like I need you to go in before all of my listing appointments and I love it.
I could be a hype person for sure.
Yeah, it's a great cheerleader.
Yeah. So this is super informal, guys. If you have not been on these calls before, there's no rules, there's no regulations. We'll try to keep you within the hour because I know you're very busy. But if you have questions that you want to ask Allison or myself, just put it in the chat box. Amber monitors it, and then we'll just fire away and get those questions answered, okay? All right, so Allison, why did you become a real estate agent? What inspired you to become an agent?
You know, it's kind of a long story, but in respect of the time, my grandparents, they lived in Florida. And my grandfather owned his own brokerage, Spring Hill Properties. So they did property management and real estate. So during the summers, like I would go down and spend time with them and hang out in their office and pretend to be an agent, looking through all those old books, and had a lot of fun doing that. And my grandmother, before it was really a thing, she was a top real estate agent in the area. And my grandfather had a really hard time with that, because it was taboo back then for women to be powerful ladies in the industry. So I feel like they paved the way for me, so to speak. But truthfully, my daughter was only about 2 years old when I got into real estate. And the reason I did is because my husband, as a firefighter, he was working 3 jobs and literally was not home most of the time. And I remember I was sitting on the back porch, and my stepson, who was in high school at the time, he made a really bad grade in a class. And my husband asked him, "Why are you not studying?" And my stepson looked at him and was like, "How do you know I didn't study? You're never home." And whenever I bring that up, it kills me, because I know how much my husband has sacrificed for our family so I could stay home part-time with our daughter, our youngest. So I knew right then I needed to make a difference. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my real estate license so he could quit all those side hustles, just be at one department, and he could be home. And that's why I did it. So my kids could see their father.
Sure.
And so we would get the best of him, right?
Yeah, on this call, there's a bunch of fire wives or just myself as included. So Meryl just said kudos. She knows what that life is. Her husband just retired from the fire department as well. So, when you're gone that long, you got to find some type of balance. And we all know that public safety doesn't get paid a lot. They're gone a lot. And when they're home, being present is not always possible. So kudos for you for finding out that perfect career which you blossomed in. So good for you. And now your kids watch you be a entrepreneur and boss, and it's not easy. And that's the key of showing your kid that this is not easy, because if it's easy, everybody could do it. So you started as a solo agent and then you built your team. So why did you want to build a team? What was the mindset saying, hey, I could do this myself, right? And I'm pretty successful. And now all of a sudden you have that mindset of, I know I can do something bigger. What motivated you to get bigger and grow a team?
So I got into real estate thinking I have about 3 years until our daughter starts school. So I have 3 years to figure out what real estate is. And then when she goes to school, I'll do it full time. That was the thought. And I totally underestimated our sphere in our firefighter family, because very quickly I got my license and I was rookie of the year. Then I was doing 67 deals on my own 1 year. And I mean, I just went from start to sprinting. And it one day, I just remember my office was at the house and I looked up and it was like midnight and my husband was in bed. Obviously the kids were in bed. And I was like, gosh, he didn't even tell me goodnight. So the next morning I was like, you went to bed, you didn't tell me goodnight. What's that about? And he's like, oh, you were busy. I didn't want to bother you. And during that time too, I went like 8 days without seeing our 2-year-old, except for in the mornings when I would wake her up and drop her off at the daycare facility we had for her. And it kind of came to a head and my husband's like, why are you doing this? Like, you care about work more than your family. And I got so defensive. I'm like, I'm doing this for our family. And he was able to quit all those jobs, by the way. And he was a firefighter just every third day. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're not doing it for our family because you're losing our family. And it was, it even makes me emotional now. It was tough.
Those are strong words. Those are strong words.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, like, I love real estate. Like, when I think of real estate, I don't think of this as a job. It's definitely a lifestyle. And I wasn't willing to give that up. And at the same time, I was losing my why. And I knew, okay, I've got to figure this counterbalance out, because balancing it all is nearly impossible, but there is a counterbalance there. So I knew right then that I needed more leverage in my life. And I've always followed the model. So my very first hire was a transaction coordinator. Then I hired an admin. And then I was like, okay, I need now agent support. So I hired my first buyer's agent, and she was a brand new firefighter as well. She was brand new and the perfect person to hire, because I literally was like, I need you to just figure it out. And boy, did she. So that is why I needed to transition from solo to a team.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference what industry you're in. Anytime you want to grow to that next level, you have to get help, right? And that's the hardest part is, number one, admitting you need help, right? Because this business, you want to control almost every aspect to it. I don't care if you're on the loan side or the real estate side, you want to be able to control it. So to delegate certain things and hire people to do it for you is a tough mental thing, because let's face it, we all think that nobody's going to do it like us, but that's really not the case. You find good people, they will work for you and they will do it better than you. It's okay to ask for help. And sometimes your business will go down when you get help because you have to figure it out. and then it'll go up because then things go on cruise control. It's about balance. Everything is about balance because family life is first. We're all family first. So if we can figure out that balance, we will succeed. So as you became growing this team, right? And this is an Anthony question, which I also have written down as well. So me and Anthony think alike. What's up, Anthony? What were your challenges? Like, what challenges did you face as you started to grow?
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. It's interesting because you kind of touched on it. You feel as if your clients only want to work with you. They want me. If they don't have me, then they'll go to someone else. And what I really had to realize is no, they want to work with me because they like how I do business. They know they could trust me. They know that we're going to be on top of it. And I have a good reputation in our market in real estate. So I really had to learn how to transition the people that were so used to me, because our biggest source of clients is our past clients, past client referrals, sphere and sphere referrals. So I had to really learn how to make that transition over to a teammate and trust that my teammate has the skills and they know what they're doing. So that was a huge challenge. And it's really just a mindset thing as well. Because if you have people in your organization that you can't trust with any of your clients, then you really need to reevaluate what skill do they need? And am I pouring into them and helping them with that skill? Or do I just have the wrong person? That's okay. I've been there. So you really just have to evaluate that piece. Leverage has always actually been pretty easy for me though, like on the administrative, like that side. And even though I believe my admin, our ops managers on this call, she's probably laughing that I said that. I promise you it's easier for me to give that up. But yeah, I would say that was the biggest challenge.
Anyone who's built a team always has to delegate certain things, right? The key is when we're trying to build a team, you still have to bring in business, right? Whether you're the team lead or just a agent that has people around them helping them. So the parts that we delegate is the parts in my mind is non-money making activities, right?
Yeah.
It's this business, whether it's the loans or the real estate side, there's a ton of minutia in it, right? There's a ton of little things that we have to do that take up a lot of our day. It is okay for someone to do that for you, right? Because then, quiet. Sorry, guys.
That is why Winston didn't come to the office with me.
Well, she's always here. It's okay to delegate those tasks. When you go, and I'm not comparing us to doctors or lawyers, but when you go to a doctor's office or a lawyer's office, you are not always speaking to that lawyer or doctor. You have a physician assistant, you have a nurse, they're all handling most of the business for you. That doctor or attorney is going to oversee it. Again, I'm not comparing us to that, but you're running a business like that. It's okay to delegate certain tasks as long as you oversee it. And most clients don't care because you trust that person to have that conversation. Your client knows it. So don't think that we have to do everything. It is okay to delegate and hire out. So Anthony has a question that he wants to chime in. Anthony, unmute yourself. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, Anthony, you're muted.
Anthony left.
I can't hear him.
All right, let's continue.
He's
Anthony,
there, but I don't think he
Yeah.
realizes he's muted.
this guy's such a social media expert. He can't even unmute himself.
Hey, I do want to say something on what you're just talking about. If you have the right people on the right seat of the bus, okay, which is a great book, by the way, then they are the best person for that particular job. And I do tell people that. I tell my clients, look, we have a TC, our transaction coordinator. She is the best one to handle that. Do not put me in charge of deadlines because I will screw it up. That's not my specialty, but that's hers. And again, just making sure that you have the right people in the right seat. And then it's so much easier to delegate all of those non-revenue activities.
As leaders, we find the best in everybody, right? As a coach, you have players on your team and you have to make sure that you're getting the most out of your team. So you put them in positions to succeed. You're not going to put a center in basketball as a point guard. Okay. You're not going to put a point guard as a center. You are going to put your teammates in the best possible scenario so everyone succeeds. And that is a good coach and team lead. All right. So team culture, right? Positive team culture, because people love to be happy at work, and it's an easy slope not to be. What are some best practices you do to bring culture to the Glennie group?
This one's really important to me because I have had it both ways on my team. And just like you said, you could very easily slip into a toxic. And when I first built the team, I had the right people at that time, because the people that you have, sometimes they're the right people at that time. Okay. And I'm sure that will come up in a question a little bit later we could dive into. But we had a great culture. We did a lot together. Our values were in sync. And it was good because we could keep everyone balanced with, hey, you haven't been there with your family at all this week. What are you doing? Let me help you. And all of those things. And then it truly does, it takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. And as a rainmaker, is what we call it in our world, you really need to be focusing on that and be cognizant of, do you have someone on your team that might be spoiling the team culture? And I did go through that, where I looked up and I was like, oh, I don't even want to be around my team. And if I'm the rainmaker and I don't want to be around my team, that's the problem. And it wasn't because of one person was a bad person or anything like that. It's just our values were not in sync. And so the biggest thing for me is just knowing our core values, and also like hiring based on that first and foremost. And even though we are an in-office team, it is summertime. We have some that needs to stay home for the most part because the kids are home and all of that. So we make sure that we are coming together Tuesday through Fridays at 8:30 a.m. to do our power up. And that is a good time for us to connect, see how everyone's doing, talk about our gratitudes, talk about our wins, and then also going over something to better our skill set. Mondays, we get together for our team meetings for an hour long, and we do client events. We try to really get together outside of work and get to know each other at a deeper level, not just the work piece. And I think all of that's really important. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you have people that have the same values as you do and what you stand for. And in order to do that, you have to ask yourself, what are my values?
Sure.
And are those the people around me?
Negative is contagious. Okay. It's when someone's just toxic, all it takes is that person to get in another person's ear and show them, and all of a sudden they're both toxic, right? But if you come in and you're live and bubbly, and that also wears off, right? If I start laughing right now hysterically, you will start laughing with me, even if you don't know what I'm laughing about. That stuff's contagious. If I see you laughing and I'm just like, what's so funny? And then all of a sudden I'm laughing. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm laughing at. Moods and attitudes are contagious, and all it takes is one bad apple. And then all of a sudden it becomes a toxic environment. So yes, building culture from the inside out is very important. Great answer. All right, so we have 2 questions from the gallery. Amber, go ahead. What's the questions?
I'm going to go with Anthony's first because the second one is about compensation. So I think that would be better towards the end. Anthony asked, how do you find the right people? His biggest challenge has been interviewing and finding people with that same motivation and drive and goals that he has.
Yeah, you just have to talk to enough people, right? We had this conversation as a team this morning. We got to be talking to enough people at the right time and saying the right things. Enough times is the key, right? Mm-hmm. So really building your bench and making sure that you are coming up with a game plan of figuring out, actually, Laura, my ops manager, like I said, I believe she's on here. She asked me a couple months ago, she said, do you have a list of people you want in your world? And I was like, ooh, that's such a good question. Ever since she said that, I do have some people I would love to be in my world because I feel like they would be a great culture fit, value fit. And sometimes you meet with them and then you realize they're not. So just so you have something to go based on this, I would really just all your co-ops, that if you have a good co-op with these people, write them down and then ask them out for lunch. If you asking other agents that you know or people that you know, hey, who do you know that I need to know? You're a team lead. I don't know what brokerage you're with, but I know we're with Keller Williams. So I go to my team leader, to our OP, and I ask them, who do we have people you feel would be a good fit for my team? And honestly, I say no to agents more than I say yes, because I want to protect what we have. And I would just really encourage anyone that's listening to this that is wanting to build a team, don't do it too fast, because it is so painful to have to rebuild. And I'm on the other side of that, like rebuilding now because of the culture thing that we talked about. And it's, yeah, to take your time. If they're not a good fit, that's okay. They're not a good fit. Keep looking.
Two things on that. Number one, I think everyone's in a position, we're all in sales at some point, right? I don't care what level you're at, we are in sales. Yes, I always refer to it as customer service first. We see when we're trying to grow dollar signs and people and more volume, it is okay to say no. You will have a better day and a better month if you don't say yes to everybody. It is a powerful word to say no, that I don't want to work with you because of XYZ, right? So when I'm hiring somebody, or if someone comes to me and says, Dave, I'm interested in joining your team, I use one word all the time, and that's value. What value as a team lead can I bring to you? And as a teammate, what can you bring to me? So I constantly remind myself when I'm interviewing somebody of the value, because it's an equal value. Yes, I have to give as a manager and as a team lead a lot of my time, right? Whether it's training, whether it's answering questions, whether it's just being there, that advocate for that person. So the time thing for me is, how much time can I give to you? Because I value my time. So what can I do to help you? But what can you do to help me as well? And that is my mindset when I interview people. It's got to be a two-way street. If this person brings in a lot of business but doesn't have good culture, well, then I don't like that person for my team. It's not about volume. And that's where that word no is powerful. Say, listen, you're just not a great fit for us. Yeah, you're a high producing agent, or you're the best loan transition coordinator I've ever seen. But if you're dry as sand and you've got no personality, then you're just not a good fit. So the word no is a very powerful word. At the same time, when a client tries to hire you as a real estate agent, and you know it, you just know in the back of your head, this is going to be an awful process. And you say yes because you think it's a transaction. Everyone has done it here. And then 3 weeks later, you're like, I wish they would fire me. It is okay. If you would have said no because that's what your gut told you, you would be better. You have more time for other people. So the word no is a powerful word, and the word value use every day in your life when you're trying to interview people. Go ahead, Amber.
Yeah. And so also, Anthony, which I'm sure a few people are asking too, in terms of the interview process, I guess this is two-part. If you're looking for agents, is that more referral based? And from your ops side, are you using platforms like listrecruiter.com? And could you explain what your interview process looks like? Are y'all having the candidates come in multiple times?
As far as agents are concerned, because it is different if it's ops side or sell side. So sell side, a lot of it is, honestly, it's people that are reaching out to me, especially right now. Inventory is incredibly down. We thought inventory was low in 2021, but compared to, if you've seen those graphs, it's way down based on where it was. So what's happening is that there's so many agents out there that got into the market a couple of years ago and they've done so well on their own, and now they are struggling. So I've had a lot of people just reach out to me like, hey, I'm really struggling. I would love to pick your brain. And I'm using that as like, oh, great, it's a recruit. They're probably not thinking that way, but I'm inviting them to come and sit down with me so I could share the value that I could bring them and to figure out what their goals are. Now, we're partnered with Place, and I don't know if any of the real estate agents on here know what that is, but Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez, they're business partners of mine. So we actually do have technology through Brivity that we have a recruiting piece of it. And I know like my ops manager, that is something that she is handling, but we really haven't had to do too much ads on that because we do have enough people that have reached out. I won't say enough. We don't have enough, but we've had quite a few people reach out to us. And honestly, I made that list and I have been reaching out to those people and asking them, how's your business? What are your struggles? I'm trying to figure out what their pain points are. So then I could see, okay, how can I add value to their pain point so they could see why they need us? So that's to answer that one part. As far as interviewing, so I have gone through career visioning, if anyone knows what that is, but it's like an intense interview process and it is multiple layers. For this call, just so if you're making notes, like the biggest pieces of it is you want to know what their goals are. And that's not just their volume unit goal. Because a lot of times you're probably talking to someone that has no idea, right? You want to know their personal goals, their relationship goals. You want to know their finance goals and health goals as well. And then the business. So there's actually 5 things that you want to really understand, and that will help you get to know them. And then through the process, you'll be able to figure out what are their values, because the values are going to come into play in the interview process. If you're only meeting with them one time, you have no idea what their true values are, what they stand for. And also you're looking at the goals, but then you want to kind of do like tell me about your past. What was your first employment? And going down and bringing it all the way up to now and asking what were your biggest challenges during that time? Because what you're looking for is grit. You want to see like, did this person every time things got tough, they just jumped ship, or did they overcome? You're looking for the habits. So those are the 2, the goal part and then figuring out the grit part. I hope that answered your question.
I thought it was a great answer. That's fantastic. I think one of the follow-up questions was, do you have any other people in the room with you when you're interviewing? I know the first one should always be between the team lead, but then as you're growing in that process, you should be introducing them to your teammates because they're going to be working hand in hand with them, right? You may have a great feeling, but then Gia comes along and says, I just don't have, my senses are off on this person. Let's ask this question. So yeah, if you trust your team, Anthony, then you trust them to be part of the process when you're hiring somebody. I know when I hire a new loan officer, I always have myself on that interview. And then I follow up with say, hey, do you want to meet anyone on my team? I want you to meet Amber. I want you to meet a processor. I want you to meet Tammy Hubbard, who's my head of staff, right? So there's layers of that. It's not just your opinion. It's a culture. Go back to that same word, right? We're building a culture together. So yes, you always include somebody else on the second or third interview.
Yeah, and that's so important because you might be biased and you don't even realize. You're just so excited that this agent is finally agreeing to sit down with you that you are overlooking every red flag because you are just like, oh, I just want to add this person. Laura, again, she sits in with me and it's good because she picks up on things that I didn't. And then it's good collaboration afterwards. We actually had someone that we met with and afterwards she was like, no. And I was like, really? And she was like, no. And she had a good reason why. We had a great conversation about it. And now on the other side of it and watching that person, I'm like, yes, thank God she saw what I wasn't paying attention to.
So let's transition a little bit into the combination of you being a team leader and a high-level listing agent. How do you balance that? So you're still bringing in business, you're still the focal point of the team, but how do you do both? Because when you wake up in the morning, you're a manager first and a realtor second.
Yeah. So I'm in the trenches with my team. So when The sales team is lead generating. I need to be lead generating as well. And it's helpful. And this is something as agents, entrepreneurs, goodness, especially the sales agents and us, we just want to be out there and in front of people. That's where we get our energy. So we have to tame ourselves and bring focus and be like, okay, we have to focus on the lead gen, or we're going to have no one to go and run the streets with. And it's a struggle. And I want to stay in integrity here because my team, I believe, is on this call. So it is a struggle. And yes, a lot of times Laura has to say, you guys really need a script practice. Like, you guys really need to lead generate. Let me handle this. So I think that answer within itself is probably the best one, is having the right people in your world keep you focused on what you need to be focusing on, because I am so squirrely, and I know that about myself, and my team knows that. I see Gia's actually up there. I see her laughing. I'm squirrely. Okay. Having the right people around you, having that bunker, and delegating some of the stuff off. Now, thankfully, we have a great training system as well. So like our agents that join us, I'm not having to literally sit by them and go through the whole process, because then that could take away from production as well. So just having the right resources around you to stay on focus, I think, is the biggest thing.
I think one of the key factors of having that balance is staying super organized, because there's only so much time in a day and so much you could remember in your brain, right? Again, as a team leader, you're waking up every day. You're a manager and lead first, right? You got to take care of your people first, and then you can take care of yourself. So if you stay organized within the day, take lots of notes. Someone calls you up, you're writing something down and then getting back to that. But if you don't write it down, it's gone sometimes, unless you can remember everything.
Yeah.
For anyone here that wants to build a team, stay organized, stay structured, because there's only so much time in a day.
And I would say on that, do yourself a favor now and start recording your processes, your systems. That is one thing that no one told me at the very beginning, and I wish that they did. It would have made our lives so much easier. And the easiest tool I know of, unless if someone knows another trick, is like just put on Zoom, share your screen, record it, and walk through everything you're doing and save it. So then that way you have someone that you need to train. They have those videos, they could go back and rewatch. That's a great tool for that. And just really focusing on staying in your lane once you do have your team.
Good. Let's talk about the market. You guys are still successful. You're still bringing in business. You are top agents, one of the top teams in the Keller Williams region. And in Peachtree City, there's not much out there for sale, right? The amount of houses for sale at one time is minimal. What are you guys doing as a team and individual realtors to succeed? What are you guys doing differently?
We are all focusing on listings. The only way that you could control the inventory in the market is to get more listings. If you don't have enough listings for your buyers, go find the listings, get more. So that is our focus. That's what we have been training on, collaborating with, masterminding around, and just making sure that we're all focusing on it, which was different from what I did in the past. I was a specialist model where I had buyer's agents, listing agent. Now I feel like it's all hands on deck, and we all need to be focusing on getting the listings. And then it's also lead generating. We've got to pick up the phone. It's so funny to me because I hear people say, I don't want to bother them, or it sounds so salesy. We're salespeople. Like, it is what it is. Like, our license literally says salesperson. So if you catch yourself saying that or thinking that, then you really need to reevaluate, because that's what we do. I think it's a contact sport. We need to be saying the right thing at the right time, enough times to the right people. And if you're doing that consistently, you will get business and you will be able to keep the business. Where a lot of agents get messed up. They do so well, they get the business, and then they get so busy on managing the business. And then all those close, or they're kind of on a high, so they don't lead gen. They're not really making the phone calls, or they're just making the phone calls to get the contacts, but they're not really striving for the appointment. And then all of those close, and they look up and they're like, oh my goodness, I have nothing. We have to be consistent on having the conversations.
It's amazing how all the things that you're saying, I preach to my team as well. Just get consistent in your day. It's very hard to bring in business today. I'm not going to lie, right? But the concept to do it is not hard. If we sat there and lead gen all day, hit our sphere of influence, just constantly talking about what we do to enough people, eventually you're going to get business. The last couple of years, business just came to everybody. It was very easy for the phone to ring. Now we have to shake trees as loan officers and realtors to get the phone to ring, right? There's only so much pie out there. There's a lot of people trying to eat. But if you're sitting there working hard and doing your lead gen, doing whatever it is you do at a consistent level, your phone will ring. It's that simple. It sounds simple. It's not, but the concept is just be structured, talk to as many people as you can. It's okay to ask for business. It's not being salesy. It's also implied. Someone hears from me, they know I'm Dave the loan officer. I'm the mortgage guy. They know it, right? It's implied. But if I'm not talking to them, no one knows. If Allison's not talking to her database, then people forget. As much as we think that people won't forget, they will. But if we pick up the phone and call, they're not going to forget. So just, be consistent within your day. It's a great answer. You answered all my questions, Allison. There's a couple of them I had written down that you answered within some other questions. So anybody from my team, loan officer wise, got any questions for Allison that you want to ask?
And we have 2 questions from agents just to wrap it up too.
All right, nothing from mine. Let's go through this. Let's get the
compensation.
Yeah. Do you want to side table that? Or you're okay speaking of that?
Is it on the sell side or is it on the op side?
Yeah. So compensation for building a team. We have someone, both Anthony and Alyssa. What's the compensation for building a team? Is it the same when you're hiring agents versus like your ops side? And then Anthony asked about the splits that you do amongst your team.
Okay. I'm an open book. I'm totally fine answering that. So compensation on the ops side, it really depends on the area that you're in. So that's a little trickier, and it really depends on what you're doing. I will say that if you're a single agent just starting to build, then your first hire needs to be TC, and that would be per transaction. So it is very cost effective. Most of the time it's a cost of sell, or it should be a cost of sell. So that is the best route to go with that. And then you have an admin, and then you really just need to look and see what's right for your market area. Now, as far as the sales side, so much easier. Again, I follow the model, and there are so many people ahead of us that have been so incredibly successful that they have learned and fell on their face time and time again. So I would so rather learn from them and not have the financial issues that come up later, because I will tell you that the splits, if you don't do them right, you will quickly be paying agents to be on your team because of the expenses. And if you want to provide high value to your agents, you need to be profitable and be able to provide that. So for buyers, we do 50-50 split. Now, we have some caveats there. If another team member sets an appointment, basically give a client to another team member, there's some compensation differences, but just in sake of keeping it simple here, is 50-50. And then as far as listings, it's 60-40. So 60% to the team, 40% to the agent. And why that is, we all know listings cost us more money. We have pictures, drones, staging. There's just so much more there. We're having to pay a runner if you have a runner doing your signs, and also like the marketing piece of it. So that is how we do it. Anything more than that, you will be losing money. It will be hard to be profitable.
Thank you for answering that. Appreciate that. What else? Anybody want to add anything? Got any questions? It's just open forum right now. We're perfectly timed, so I always keep this under an hour, and we're 51 minutes. So if anyone wants to add to it,
I
Anyone
have
got
a
anything?
question, actually,
ahead.
just how you're talking about with your team and the setup as you're hiring on agents. Do you, I don't want to say push or suggest that you use a specific lender or entitle agent? Like, how does
Mhm.
that work? Or do you prefer your, and I'm not just saying that because of Dave. I am curious, like, you
No,
allow
I
your
think that's a
agents.
great question. Yeah, so we have our preferred lenders and preferred vendors, period.
Yeah.
And yes, I do push for my agents to use our preferred. And the reason is because we already know how they work. We already know that we could trust them. And sometimes you have an agent that comes on that already has a connection, a relationship with someone, and that is fine. I do want to respect that relationship.
Yeah.
However, for instance, Dave, I mean, he's our, like, if we're partnering up with anything in the community, Dave's my guy, right, Dave?
Yeah.
And my agents use Dave. And like Stockton, I mean, as a whole, we know how they work. We're dealing with one right now that we're closing tomorrow. And the attorney had to tell us that the lender said that we're not closing until next week. And we had the buyer, but that buyer came with a lender. And I'm like, that's just not okay. That the lender never told us as the agent that we're not closing tomorrow. So yes, I push it not to.
You try to be respectful about it. Yeah.
It's respectful. And also there's a reason why. I'm never going to push people on my team to use someone that sucks.
Yeah. Thanks for answering that.
It's a trust factor, right? When you're dealing with, hey, I've got one person that I'm using or an attorney, not even this is who we use and why. And hopefully they can build rapport and a relationship as well. Anyone else want to chime in? Anyone else got a question for Allison or anybody on this group? This has been great.
I have something to say. Hi, I'm Gia. I am Allison's marketing coordinator. And you're going back to just like culture and value. So I have the pleasure and privilege of working for Allison. But something that I really admire is that she continues to hold us accountable and like certain standards across the board. She is very vocal about. And so sometimes people might fall off a little bit or have their own personal things going on, but she really keeps us accountable about what our vision is and what our culture is and what our value is at heart. And she will flat out tell us, like, if this isn't you anymore, then maybe this isn't the place for you. And I really appreciate that because we all want to do well together. And she is at the helm driving us to success. And sometimes with certain people, that's the case. And they're just not able to give what she's expecting, but she holds us accountable for our power-ups, for knowing scripts, for knowing certain things. And so even being on the marketing side, it's cool to hear things and learn things that aren't part of my job description, but it just helps us as a whole. So I just wanted to say the keeping us accountable and knowing what's expected, I really appreciate for our value and culture.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you.
That's great feedback.
Thank you, Gia. Hello.
Go Dodgers.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. All right, let's wrap this up. Allison and the rest of your team, thank you. This has been great. I feel like we can chat for hours and just Q&A all day long about this stuff. We appreciate not only the business, but your friendship and your knowledge that you bring to the real estate game. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I am an open book, you guys. So Anthony, I know you had a lot of questions. If you want to reach out, I would love to schedule a call, or if you're local, meet you in person. I won't try to recruit you to my team unless if you want to be. But no, I would love to answer any questions that y'all have. And who knows, maybe we can bounce off some good suggestions in this crazy market.
Love it. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving us your hour and have a great day. And hey, August is here. There is real estate out there. Why not you? See you guys.
Bye, everyone.